Howdy, folks, howdy. Tony here with you, doggone glad to be. Oh, I've got a story to tell you today. Going to talk a little bit about the old Barlow knife. I grew up in a coal mining camp in East Tennessee. My daddy was a miner, my grandfather was a miner. I too was a coal miner at times. And I was going into mines as early as 8 years old. My daddy and my Uncle Beecher, they ran what they call a wagon mines on the ridge above our house. Daddy was a coal miner and also a Pentecostal preacher. My Uncle Beecher was a coal miner and a moonshiner. They wouldn't nobody like Uncle Beecher. But like I say, I was going in there at 8 years old, and my job was to carry supplies into Uncle Beecher and Daddy while they were at work in the mines. And they had what they call a wagon mines in operation. That's where you load the coal on a little wagon and it's pulled out of the mines by the use of a small statured mule. They had a little red mule called a Santa Fe mule, and they would pull the coal out of the mines, and they sold the coal to families to heat their homes with, and they done quite well. They actually had two mines up there in that area. One mine's where they worked, and the other mine's that had a freshwater spring inside of it. That's where Uncle Beecher made his moonshine. But anyway, I would go in the coal mines to do what I could do to help. At that age, I would carry the supplies in there. And the Barlow knife, that's what I'm getting to here, came in quite handy for me. I carried a Barlow pocket knife. My daddy carried a case Stockman, bone handle. I never will forget that big Stockman. My Uncle Beecher had a case Stockman. But my knife was a Barlow. Many a time I took the old Barlow to flip the lids open on the carbide can. The carbide was an item that they used to fuel their carbide lamps with to light their way through the mines. And what they would do, they would fill the lamp with the carbide, put a little water in it, close it back up, and they had a little igniter on the reflector, and they get that light going, and that's the means they had for light, using the carbide lamp to dig their coal. And a lot of times I would use the Barlow to trim the bradish cloth, and sometimes to cut wires or whatever I needed to do. But the Barlow knife was very handy. Later on in life, I went to work for a larger coal company that had more modern equipment, and I also carried a Barlow knife. My job in that mines was helping the roof bolting machine operator and working the tailpiece. But that Barlow knife was very handy. I used it to cut wires with. I used it to open the bags of rock dust. Rock dust was a material they used to spread to keep the coal dust down. Coal dust caused a lot of good men to develop black lung. But little did they know that rock dust was just as lethal as the coal dust was. Because when you breathed in enough of that, it got into your lungs, the rock dust would cut through your lungs. It kind of defeated the purpose, if you will, to spread rock dust to avoid coal dust. But anyway, that's another story, another time. But that old Barlow was very handy for a lot of uses in the mines. I was in the mines sometime as far back as 2.5 miles. And you need every bit of assistance you can get back. It's a dangerous job. Don't let nobody kid you. The dangers outweigh the good. It sure does. But that old knife came in very handy for a lot of tasks back in the mines. It sure did. And we didn't have carbide lamps at that time. We were using battery lights. And I always tried to carry a secondary light with me, like a small flashlight, in case the battery went dead or whatever. We were way back in there, and it took a long time to get out if you had to walk out. And I've had times that I had to go out in a hurry. One time we had a cable farm. We had to crawl our way out. We were in about a mile deep, and that happened. Can you imagine being in a coal mines, 2 or 3 miles underground, and a mountain over top of you? That's a scary feeling. I still have thoughts about that every night when I go to sleep. But what I'm saying, the Barlow knife was a handy tool to have. And that was life and times of a coal miner here in East Tennessee. I remember very early in life, my dad worked in Harlan County, Kentucky in the coal mines, a place called Black Mountain. I was very young then, but I remember it well. And I'm proud of my coal mining heritage and my friends and loved ones that I've knew through the years. And these coal miners are all bond together. We are all brothers. And the Barlow knife, like I say, was a very useful tool back then. I got some I want to show you here. I didn't use any of these in the coal mine. I got some more modern versions here. Here's a nice one. It's a Boker Magnum. Red pick bone. This is a beauty. A beauty. I'm really proud. I've collected a lot of Barlows. Got this nice clip point. And I love the scales on this red pick bone. Nice little pen blade. That is a beauty. And that's a Boker Magnum. All right. Next one I want to show you is a little cheapo, but it's a good user. This is a little Asian China-made Barlow. And it's saw cut, and very sturdy build. China puts out some good material. I think they got cheap labor out there and they can do that kind of thing. And of course, it's got a really nice clip point and a secondary little pen blade. Nice little knife for the money. Like I said, it's a budget. Now, right here is one of my most prized possessions. This one was made in Italy. It's a line steel. My sweetheart bought me this knife. And this is genuine olive wood handles. These scales are absolutely gorgeous. And it's got blades. Oh, look at this fine clip point here. Look at this. Just take a look at that. That is a wonderful knife. My sweetheart, little sweet Patsy, bought me this knife, and it's a very nice one. And this next blade here is like a sheep's foot. Very handy knife, a very beautiful knife. This is one worth owning. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my little story about working in the coal mines and carrying the Barlow knife, and hope you've enjoyed my Barlows that I have on here display today. You all have a blessed day. I'll catch them up with you later. God bless.